You're going to learn how to day game in the rain. All the strategies so you don't have excuses. I'll share with you everything I know so you cannot blame the rain. There's inflation. In 2024, there's going to be a recession. But there's a lot of rain right now, and there'll eventually be snow. And people are going to get very depressed. But none of that can stop you from meeting and seducing the white girls of your dreams with this secret insta-date method to same-day lays. My students are getting laid in the rain and the bad weather. It does not stop them. Of course, you might be saying, okay, so that's your claim, John, that they're day gaming in bad weather. But we want to see some proof, right? How do we know you're not just telling us that they're doing that? No problem. So, the Indian student recently who got laid, they did this in the rain. So it is possible. It was not good weather. Same with the other Chinese student who got laid in one approach in bad weather. Who is this guy? You might be wondering, why is there a white guy here? Because in October, a white guy, he got laid. How many approaches? 3 approaches, and he banged a 19-year-old in the fucking rain. No, not in the actual rain, but she's 19 years old. At 3 approaches from Elite 30, from hard case to hero. That's it. 3. And she's 8 out of 10 in looks. So there is no excuses at all. There is no excuses. And that's not just him. Another student got married in the rain too. Believe it or not. So, the secret lies in the art of the insta-date. To pull to same-day lay, my friends. Picture this. You spot a stunning white girl from inside the mall in the streets, right? Instead of approaching her like a zombie, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna run up to her and tap her on the back of the shoulder like Todd V, where everyone can see your awkward attempts. You know, you should try something different. When you catch her eyes, make sure she knows that you're interested, but don't pounce on her like a predator with this 3-second rule. Oh yeah, you see her, you gotta start mass approach. That's not gonna work in the rain. Start by talking inside the mall first, together. You're like, what do you mean inside the mall? That's right. The very first strategy is day game inside the mall. Do not just day game on the streets. I'll get into details how you can day game in the streets and how you can get this type of umbrella. So watch the whole video throughout the whole thing. I'm going to show you exactly how this thing works and how even something like this micro umbrella can fit into your pocket. I'll go through all the strategies so you don't have to wear this stupid fur coat with fur on the outside ruining your fashion. So basically, the first thing you want to do is to day game inside the mall. You're like, okay. In Canada or British Columbia, we have a mall called Metro Town. Lots of people day game there in the mall. So you don't have to always be outside. As long as you can keep your body language up for 6 minutes, she's gonna walk and talk with you. So you can go for insta date, but now you're probably wondering, hey John, that's great and all, but where do I bring her for the insta date? We know you're supposed to approach in the mall, but what are you supposed to do afterwards? Rather than going outside for an insta date, what you want to do instead is to actually insta date inside the mall. What are you talking about, insta date inside the mall, John? It's very simple. It's very simple. Most guys, if they start inside the mall or outside the mall, they're going to be more on the outside. And what's going to happen when the rain is pouring is she's not going to feel comfortable. She's going to feel like uncomfortable. There's no social comfort, so it makes it very hard to maneuver her. So you want to start inside the mall. Imagine inside the mall is nice and warm, nice and cozy. If you're outside and it's raining, she's going to feel very upset. She's not going to move with you anywhere. You cannot run your maneuver warfare. And even if you're able to get an insta hangout, let's walk and talk. Let's go this way. Come on. Even if you got her walking, if you bring her outside for an insta date, now you are no longer safe. You got to pretend the outside is like lava. Although it's raining, it's like lava. The more she's outside, the more it'll burn, or the more she gets colder. And when she gets colder, less likely you can maneuver. Let's talk strategy. We got to stay indoors. So you're going to be moving her, not to places like smoothies or coffee. People may not want to drink coffee now. You want to go for a steep tea. It's the best tea in all of BC or Canada. Steep tea, triple, but we'll get into that. As you watch more of this video, we'll go over all the strategies. So number one, insta-date inside the mall and go for insta-date. If you can get like perfect body language, like my Kaizen students, assuming you don't fail because you're full of cortisol, and you talk super fast. So not only does this create instant bond, but also provides you an opportunity to showcase your human side through your social skills and social calibrations. Of course, your emotional control is very important too. If you had perfect body language like Kaizen and you have the social skill flow drill, but however, you don't have the emotional intelligence because you're full of cortisol, the stress hormone. You're going to be talking super fast, talking to her like a Vietnamese. Excuse me, real quick, I have a question. I was like going this direction. I was like looking for a place. You know I can find. You don't want to talk with syllables close together because when you do that, she's going to want to walk away. You're going to put more pressure on her on top of the rain that's happening, on top of the cold weather where she's physically not feeling well, and also on top of the inflation. It's almost like the pandemic is a tsunami and the inflation is like a tornado. Now you got two fucking disasters, and this affects her state of mind. For example, her left brain, her logical brain's affected, her right brain emotionally is affected. So you're gonna make a lot of excuses and she's gonna be more resistant. So you need to make sure that you're chilled and relaxed, because if you're not chilled and relaxed, and the word syllables, right? So you hear the word syllables, 3, right? Syllables. Excuse me, that's 3, right? You cannot be too close together when you're talking to her inside the mall when it's raining outside, because that makes her uncomfortable. It's almost like you're doing salsa together. But if you go too fast, you can have perfect body language, good social skill flow drill. But if you talk super fast during the rain, you will fail. You'll never be able to maneuver her inside the mall. So you engage with her with an interesting conversation, right? You enjoy each other's company. And you flirt when she talks more. The only way you can even flirt is when you can calm down and speak. If you can speak properly, use a triangular flow drill over and over, she talks more. But if you're talking super fast, you can't do that. So that means when she talks more, you have perfect opportunities to throw flirts right there. You don't just throw a 200 romantic sexual flirts, because that will never work, ever, in 2020 through the inflation. And a lot of people, I lost a lot of subscribers saying this, because I believe if you keep using romantic flirts, you're not going to fit into the boyfriend-girlfriend frame. Sure, you can pull her back home, but the only way to convert her, because it doesn't deal with the neuroscience of maneuver, sexualize, and objections looping, what's going to happen is she's in the bedroom and you guys sit next to her, but you gotta have to get her drunk with vodka and Pepsi or a big bottle of champagne, because you don't fit into the boyfriend and girlfriend frame. This already is a losing battle. Now you have to get her drunk and Russell Brand her and Andrew Late her. And I do not recommend you do that. Escalate so heavy. That's illegal. She's drunk. She can't object, because she has more objections because there's a rain and there's a pandemic and an inflation. Because of these things, she's not feeling good in the left brain. You can spike the right brain with a bunch of stupid romantic flirts all day. Flirt, flirt, romantic, fall in love with you. But that's just her right brain. You're spiking one side. You got to dominate both sides of the brain or it's not gonna work. So having said that, you want to instigate her to the mall. So you flirt when she talks more. And the only way you get there is taking your time, because the faster she talks, the more nervous she is. You cannot have a salsa dance that's going in a downward spiral. Having said that, now that you feel like it's time for a change of scenery, be the man with a plan. So I suggest you move to another location inside the mall. So let's say, for example, you grab a steep tea in Tim Hortons if you're Canadian. So in the mall, you don't always have to go directly into seeding her the idea of an insta date. Oh, I know the greatest place to grab a steep tea. You don't always have to do that. You can start to walk and talk with her. Does that make sense? You start moving her to the location. So once you get her walking, then when you're near the Tim Hortons, then you can say, hey, let's grab a steep tea over right here. It's like a yes ladder. She's more likely to say yes when you're closer to the actual location. So maneuver warfare is your friend, but not on the outside. You want to do this inside the mall. You never want to do this maneuver warfare on the outside of the mall, because the more you can avoid the outside, the better. But I'll still give you strategies on what to do if you were outside. That's why I brought this umbrella here. This micro umbrella, which I'll talk about more later. So stick around. What is a micro umbrella? It's much smaller than all the other ones, and it makes it easier to fit into your pocket. But I'll go into that in more details. So basically, now that you're having an Insta date, let's say for 15 or 20 minutes, then it's time to move again. Now this is the time, because you have an umbrella, it is a good time to get outside. But at the same time, think about this way. What's the end game? You have to get her back home or back into your place. There's no way you can actually get her back home if you don't lead her outside. You can't just go on an Insta date, get a phone number closed, and settle with that while you're talking super fast and going direct. It'll never work. Never ever works. Look, where are all the students that are getting laid in those forum groups? Ever. You've seen all these PUA forum groups with this mystery method shit. Nobody got laid. This is a fact. You might be saying, John, you cannot hate on the mystery method. It is no, fuck you, mystery method. Mystery method did not get anyone laid. Even Justin Wayne's system is based on the misery method. So is London Daygame. So is all the other systems that are misery method. Old misery method, nobody got laid. Nobody got laid from these fucking systems except for John Elite's system. Isn't that weird? Go to any forum. It's like, only I am posting late testimonials. How could that be? So what I'm teaching you is backed by something. Is the advice I'm giving you has validity, because now that things are becoming harder and it's raining like crazy, it becomes double hard. What I mean by that is there's a pandemic, or it's tsunami, fucking inflation, tornado, and now we got the rain on top of everything else. So we got three things. And your excuses on top of everything. This is why I'm making this video, because if I don't make this video, you're going to make a lot of excuses why you cannot day game in the rain. So now that you move her around and you got her to a Tim Hortons or something, you got to think about the tactical considerations. When it starts to snow next month, it's going to start fucking snowing. It may be raining right now, but it's going to be snowing. The weather is not good. That's my point. But if I don't make this video, you're going to make excuses. You're going to say, John, it's raining. I'm not going to approach. It's inflation. You don't have as much money. But if my students are getting laid in the rain and these guys are poor, then how is this possible? Even my student got married the other day. You know that? During October, he got married. So if the weather plays a part by showering you with rain, if you're not, walk towards, if you have to. You don't have an umbrella for any sort of reason, and you're already maneuver her from the instant day outside. This is what you do. You got to find structures that have covering. So if you're in the mall, the bus stop might have a bit of a covering. Maybe somewhere in the park, they may have a covering. But you must find a place to move her outside, back to your place. Because the more it rains, the less likely she's going to go inside. But keep listening, because later on, I'll tell you how to fix that situation when it's pouring rain with this thing, right? So that's the thing. In order to get her back home, you must always make sure to approach inside the mall first. Number two, you must always maneuver her to somewhere to get something hot to drink. And number three, you must get her back outside into the covering if you don't have an umbrella, but you will have an umbrella by the end of this. And then you're going to bring her home. Then you change this, but you always start as much inside as humanly possible. If you have to go outside, you might go to a coffee shop. You might go somewhere else in between, maybe grab pizza, maybe grab something, and then back to your place. So what clothing to use and accessories? And how to shield yourself from the rain? That's the next question. So you got to shield her from the rain like a gentleman and capitalize on the intimate setting. So a cozy Insta date over hot chocolate inside will work wonders if you're setting the mood. The reason why you started an Insta date inside the mall is so you can bring her to another venue in the mall, keeping both of you dry. But when it's time to leave the next venue change, you have to get her home. So going to a coffee shop is great, like Starbucks or Canadian Tim Hortons, because Who doesn't love a good hot chocolate during the upcoming snowy weather? I think hot chocolate is by far the best choice when it's snowing because it's very romantic. You see a lot of snow coming down. When you see a lot of snow coming down, because people associate snowing, that nice scenery, to be romantic, hot chocolate will work extremely well. It'll work too well. But if you take hot chocolate right now during a rain, she might not say yes. She may not drink coffee. Even though it's very delicious at Tim Hortons, we call it double. 2 sugars, 2 creams. You remember that, David? When you were at my boot camp? Always made, we went to Tim Hortons and other places, you got laid. Having said that, right? Exactly. It was so good, wasn't it? Remember that steep tea? That was fucking delicious, wasn't it? Right? The big ass steep tea, we bought like a huge one, right? We call it triple, right? Remember that? And then you fuck that chick, right? And then your last day before the airport. That's awesome. Then you got a Latina girlfriend afterwards, right? Having said that, very crazy event. You had to deal with objections. Do you remember that? When you sexualized it because you pulled, and then you dealt with the objections. I told you what to text. You were doing aeroscience in a boot camp way back then. The same aeroscience technology that's being taught in 2023, right? You almost lost her if you didn't follow the objections dealing, right? So that's the funny thing. If you didn't do that, she would have been gone. You sexualized it by pulling her, but then on the text, you dealt with the objection. She gave, 3 objections in a row, exactly like 2023. They always give 3 in a row. That's why most of the other dating coaches out there don't have late testimonials, because they don't know how to overcome the 3 testimonials, the 3 objections. Because her left brain's affected by the inflation. Because the cost of living is high. She's always going to be under stress. So with the weather and all this rain and shit, it's going to be bad. So having said that, it was epic. You fucking banged her. You fucked her right before you left. All right. So what to do next? Because who doesn't love a good hot chocolate during upcoming snowy weather? You can sip coffee or tea during the rain, which will work most of the time. If you're Canadian, you want to get a medium-sized steep tea. And it's called triple. I remember when me and David, when we were getting a steep tea, we got like an extra large steep tea. Right? It was so fucking delicious. So for all the Canadians there, most women have never tried a steep tea. So if you see the idea of going for a steep tea, she's gonna love it, especially during this weather. Oh, you should try a steep tea, right? So you want to walk and talk with her in the mall after 6 minutes, but you don't have my style of game. Start having a plan in your mall. Try to figure out where are all the locations for the food court and where's all the Tim Hortons or your equivalent of it in your country. You may have different things like Dunkin' Donuts or whatever the fuck you have over there, right? Make sure you get a triple. If you guys are Canadian, get like a medium triple. You don't want her pissing all day with a large or extra large, right? The extra large steep tea. Everyone's willing to drink tea, right? You just tell her, she's like, what does it taste like? You're like, oh, it tastes like hot milk tea, like Chinese milk tea, but it's very delicious. She can't wait to try it. And both of you be very relaxed when you drink it. So triple. If you're getting a coffee, right, make sure it's not too late because she can't sleep. If it's earlier, get a double from Tim Hortons. 2 sugar, 2 cream. Almost tastes like hot chocolate. It makes her calm. So calm she may cream more than just her drink, like her panties. But trust me, the mouth-watering sweetness of hot chocolate, right? With her, with the weather when it's snowing, it's really good. Since I'm making this advice tailored for even the rain and the snow, which you will experience very soon. Because if I don't make this video and it's snowing, you're gonna make excuses and I'm gonna get less students. So here comes the moment of truth. Maneuver the conversation. You can also maneuver her towards a convenience store. Let's say this is your second venue. You can stay calm and confident as you casually grab a box of condoms to sexualize it. You're like, what? This is just one thing you can do. You can literally go for your next venue. In the mall, to Tim Hortons, you go outside the pharmacy, you buy a box of condoms just for yourself. And she's going to start to feel embarrassed. Like, what the fuck? I'm not saying everyone needs to do that. Be socially calibrated. If you have low SMV, she's going to think you're a fucking crazy creep. But if you're like decent looking, you can get away with shit like this. You can get away with more. So that sexualizes it. And then you can just deal with the objections on the way back home. Should be more likely, let's say you didn't have your own pull location, but this will more likely get her to go to her pull location, or you can bring her to a hotel because you put a box of condoms in front of her. She can't say anything about it. She's along for the ride. You just buy it. I'm not saying everyone should do that. Be very calibrated. It's very funny, but very true. So by showing your readiness for any situation, you demonstrate your confidence and you intrigue her further. Of course, objections may arise on the way to the pull location, whether it's her place or yours. So this is where arrow science comes into play. You maneuver, sexualize, and deal with the objections. Maneuver, sexualize, objection looping. You don't need alcohol. You don't. Of course, you can't learn any objections looping technology without my training or how to sexualize properly. So I suggest you grab the Elite Bundle 2 now. So fear not, my enlightened day gamers, because she will follow you. And of course, you don't have to just buy a box of condoms. You can sexualize it with sexual stories and stuff. You can talk about doing it in public, and you can do all sorts of mini routines. Or you can have this pinky promise thing that one day you'll have sex, but not today. That's one way of doing it. Just promise one day we'll have sex, but not today. It doesn't have to be today, but just one day you're not open to or you're not closed off to the possibility. The point is to get her sexualized to the max, not half-ass it like, that's what she said, right? Oh, what? That's what she said. Oh, fuck this shit. If you half-ass sexualize it, UMP or UAP stuff, and you half-ass it, she's going to be off the line. She'll leave the very fucking second you do that. When I had that student that was 15 lays, 5 models, 5 white girls, 2 actresses. As soon as he got rid of DHV stories, he got rejected 100% of the time. He's going to call out these coaches, these tall self-proclaimed coaches, in his testimonial, which I'll be posting a preview of, just like other students will be calling them out, sexualizing it, and UAP style, whatever the fuck. Those people, they'll be called out because their stuff don't work for little short ethnic Asians, with like my 5'8" student who's still taller than me, before he got no results. You know that for Daygame. He only got 1 lay as an Asian passport bro in Latin countries. 1 fucking lay after 5 years after RSD bootcamp. And he went on Tinder. He got over 100 lays on Tinder. Of course, he still used my technology for the 6 algorithms for the Instagram. It helped him even boost it further. But however, when he trained with me, those 15 lays are always going up in quality. Up and up and up. UAP or that other style, whatever the fucking company. Their students may have a few lays here and there, but they're always like 4 out of 10, 3 out of 10, 4, 3, 2, 4, 3, 4, 4, 3. Sexualizing it. But you never sexualize it to the max. You don't just chop down the objections like objections threshold or compliance threshold. That never works. It's like karate. You got to grab the uniform and throw the objection over your shoulder. She's going to resist it. But you do it over and over. The psychology of women. Why is social comfort harder to achieve when it's cold outside and raining? So what is social comfort? It's a lot harder to achieve it when it's cold outside because the colder it is, the less she will feel comfortable. Comfort's very important. Because if she's not comfortable, just like you're talking super fast with syllables everywhere, she's gonna leave. But if it's raining outside, it becomes psychologically harder. Even when it's not raining in the fall and it's fucking cold as shit, psychologically, you're gonna get a lot more rejections. So, and don't forget, there's an inflation which also affects her social value for her survival value. The pandemic was like a tsunami. The inflation is like a fucking hurricane. So there's 2 things affecting her mind. That is why for the arrow science, the inner game is important to get your life in order. A lot of the students that don't have their life in order, living paycheck to paycheck, cannot focus. I know it's tough out there, but fear not, because there's a solution for you. The key is to stay indoors as much as possible. You heard that. Don't brave the icy cold streets unless it's absolutely not necessary. So imagine like out there is like lava, right? Every time you go out there, if you're inside the malls or you're outside and you bring her inside to a coffee shop and then to the next place, right, with an umbrella, or maybe indoors and back home, you go to a pharmacy, you buy a box of condoms, and you bring her back home, right? Whatever you do, the more you're inside, the better it is for social comfort. But like I said, don't be creepy when you buy the box of condoms. You have to at least have some SMV. Otherwise, it becomes creepy. So if you're like super low SMV Indian or Asian, you have no value, and you do that, you're going to freak her the fuck out. But if you're decent looking, it's never creepy. If you're decent looking, it's never creepy. So her social comfort meter will be very low, and you will be off the line. So instead, you wait for the perfect opportunity to bounce her indoors as fast as possible. If she is indoors, you move to the next Insta-date location indoors for the mall. Till next time.